Here's a quick and simple how to change the oil in your car. Most cars are going to be pretty much the same as what I'm going to show you. There are a few exceptions, but any American or import is going to be pretty much like this. What you need are a jack, jack stand. Don't ever get under a vehicle unless it's supported by something other than the jack I just showed you over on the other side of the car. Unless, of course, you got a death wish and you want to die by getting squashed. You need a container to put the oil in as it drains out of your oil pan. You want to have an oil filter wrench. This one here fits over the back of the filter that is in the car and uses a socket handle on the end to get it out. You'll want to have a socket or a wrench that will fit the drain plug in your oil pan, and of course you want to have your filter and the correct oil, correct amount also. A rag, keep it handy just in case, because you might end up spilling a little bit. Let's get to it. Okay, car is jacked up, and I have my jack stand up under there. It's supporting the vehicle in a very sturdy place on the frame. You don't want to put this like on a fender or someplace like that. If the car falls on that, it will just bend it and squash you again. I've got everything I'm going to need under there. I'm going to have to crawl up underneath. I've got everything within arm's reach, so I don't have to keep coming back out again. Let me get up underneath there and we'll go from there. Okay, I'm up underneath the car. This is a 2005 Honda Accord. From underneath, that's the oil filter right there. That will unscrew, and the other one, with a little bit of preparation, will screw right in. That shouldn't be a problem at all. This right here is the oil pan drain plug. I'm going to pull that out with a socket and let the old oil drain into the oil bucket that I've got waiting here. Okay, once you get it loosened a little bit, it should unscrew very easily. Just your hand, you want to unscrew it and try to push in so that you don't drop it inside the bucket there. You want to clean that off too, but for now I can just carefully set it right there and let this oil drain out. Once it gets down to a trickle about like this, you can just go ahead, take that bolt and put it back in there the right way. Always put that in hand screwing it. Don't use any kind of tool to start it off with. The last thing you want to do is cross thread it, because that'll just cause you more headaches. Just screw it in by hand as far as you can. It should go several turns, and then take your socket and tighten it up just a little bit, probably a quarter to a half a turn, just so it's pretty snug on there. You don't want it to fall off, but you don't want to over tighten it either. Hold on, coming up. Hard to do this with one hand. Even a quarter turn is probably going to be too much. Just enough to make sure that it's all tight in there. Okay, next step is going to be the filter. I will get the oil pan and move it, the oil bucket, and move it out of the way, and then we'll go after that guy. Okay, once you have your oil filter loosened with the use of your oil filter wrench, like this one, some of them are different. I prefer a different kind than this. This particular kind right here doesn't, I guess you can't really see that under here, doesn't really get a good grip on the oil filter. So it is difficult to use. I prefer one of the other kind that tightens as you turn. But anyway, once you get the oil filter loosened, pull your drain bucket up underneath. When you take the oil filter off of there, it will drip oil, and it's going to pour all over everything that's down here. So I'll just be ready for that. When you take it off, make sure you point the other end up, or it's going to pour all the oil that's in the oil filter out. Just drop that filter on the top of your drain bucket and just let that drip for a few minutes until it gets down to just a trickle, and then we'll put the other oil filter, the new oil filter, back on it. Okay, here's the new oil filter. You'll notice there's a gasket, a rubber gasket right there. One of the things you want to make sure of is check the old oil filter that you just took off. Make sure that gasket is still attached to the filter. If it's not there, it's still stuck onto the engine, and if you try to put this on over the top of it, it won't work. The oil will just come spilling out as soon as you start the engine up. So check the old oil filter, make sure that is still there. Okay, now before you put this new one on, what you want to do is just dip your finger in some of the old oil that came out in the oil pan and just coat that rubber washer with a little bit of that oil. This will keep it from binding on the metal part of the engine that it contacts with. And it couldn't hurt to put just a little bit right there in those threads too. That's just something I do. So then we're going to take this, squeeze it underneath here. Let me see. Line that up and just start turning it. Now the thing about new oil filters is you want to only put them on hand tight. I realize that a woman trying to do this won't have the strength in her arm as a man does, so ladies, you might want to use a filter wrench to tighten it just a bit, but you don't want to over tighten it. That's a bad thing because it will squash that gasket and oil will drip out. Okay, once that's in, pardon my videography here, I've got really low clearance in here. You want to take a rag or something and just clean all the oil off that dripped out when you took the filter off. This is just to keep your driveway cleaner. Also, once everything is in and you've put the new oil in the engine, you want to check and see if there are any leaks. You want to try to have all the oil off of there so that if you see anything, you'll know that there's a problem. Okay, that's that for down here. That guy's in. Now we get out and we put the new oil in and start run the engine and look for leaks. Okay, when you get ready, pour your engine in. It's a good idea, or pour your oil in. It's a good idea to have a funnel just to keep things from getting messy. I also recommend when you open your oil, make sure that seal is on there. I have bought oil before at the big box stores, opened the cap and found out that apparently it had been returned and some of the oil was missing out of it. Check your owner's manual, make sure you know how much has to go in your particular engine. once you got all the oil poured in, make sure you put the cap back on. You don't want to leave that off. Let it sit for a couple of minutes, or a minute maybe, and then check your dipstick to make sure that the amount you poured in was right. And you want to look at the oil and make sure it goes all the way up to the full mark. In this case, it's where that twist is on my dipstick, and that looks good. So, and just while we're looking here, you may have noticed the new oil is honey colored. The old oil was pretty much black. Whenever you check your oil level and you see that the oil is starting to turn black, it's a good idea to start thinking about just going ahead and changing it out. But that's it. It's simple, it's easy, a little bit dirty, but heck, that's what we got showers for, right? Thanks for watching.